some might be embarrassed that they think that their problems are unique and that they're not capable of solving it on their own. But that really shouldn't be the case. No one can solve the problems we're confronting by themselves. We all have to work collaboratively, and hopefully somebody has an idea sitting around a group of other people, they build on it, and you come away with something that you can work with.
This is a Security Weekly production. Security Weekly is a resource of Cyber Risk Alliance.
The Cybersecurity Collaborative and Wiz is proud to present CISO Stories. Each week, CISO Stories takes a deep dive on security leadership with one of the contributors to my latest book, the best-selling CISO Compass: Navigating Cybersecurity Leadership Challenges with Insights from Pioneers, as well as from other top CISOs and security thought leaders. The Cybersecurity Collaborative is a unique membership community enabling cybersecurity leaders to work together in a trusted environment. To learn more, visit securityweekly.com/CSC or visit cyberleadersunite.com. I'm your host, Todd Fitzgerald, and this week we welcome Ron Hale, former Chief Knowledge Officer at ISACA.
I made that decision about 1984, so it's been quite a while. I was finishing a master's degree in criminology at the University of Illinois, and in doing research in my thesis, I was reading a lot of different things, and I happened to read an article about how terrible it would be if someone were able to break in the Fedwire system and steal millions of dollars. And I said, this is a really interesting question. It's a really interesting problem. So I started taking computer classes. At the time I was in law enforcement. I was a sheriff's police investigator. So I took classes and managed to get myself into this profession, doing a lot of different things, and finally ended up at ISACA and a couple other places. But it was just the challenge of a new field. Nothing was really set in stone. People were trying to figure out the basics of identity and what a computer crime was. So it was a great time to start something new.
So they really, at that point in time, really didn't have all the computer control frameworks or anything that we have today to rely on, did we?
No, there was actually nothing. There were some books on computer security, but they were mostly technical things. At the time, there wasn't even an internet or networking like that. It was, basically mainframe and standalone mini computers. So it was a very different environment. Some of the things we had to deal with, it was before the age of virus. That hadn't hit yet. We had problems of people not logging off and other people logging on to their account and just, doing very simple things. But it was a very different time. But, the interesting thing is that many of the problems we had back then, we're still seeing the artifacts of those today. Identity is still a major issue.
Yeah, it certainly is. I know it's, some organizations have said, that identity is the new perimeter. And it's always been an important piece.
Yeah, it has. And, we're still relying on passwords. And I had to say that, passwords may have worked back in 1984, 1985, when you had people that were basically connected to a computer and there was no other connection outside of the room that computer was in. That might have been a decent control. But where we are now, it's absolutely, no control at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were talking about in your piece that you wrote for CISO Compass, Navigating Cybersecurity Leadership Challenges with Insights from Pioneers. You wrote a great piece about the positive power of community engagement. And you talked about bringing together CISOs in these CISO forums. Could you describe a little bit about, what was that about and how did that idea come about? So
at ISACA, we used to develop content by bringing experts from around the world to work on a particular problem and come up with some kind of guidance or some kind of deliverable. And we decided to go and expand that so that at each of our security conferences, part of a day or one day, we would bring people from that area, have some other people that we brought in, and just have an open discussion on topics. We'd propose a few for people to start talking about, but often, as you probably know very well, that you get a bunch of CISOs together and the discussions fly pretty quickly. So it was something that ISACA wanted to do to give back to the profession, bring people together in a geography so they didn't have to travel a great distance, have access to some internationally known people, and just try to work on problems, come to some consensus of what the issues were, what possible solutions are, or what other resources are available. And we used it quite often to look at, what ISACA needs to develop to help this group. So some of that material actually became part of a deliverable.
What were some of your, most favorite deliverables that came out of the, bringing the global CISOs together?
So I think that, one of the things I think that was good was the Cism Handbook. So that was something we started on very early, but it's really a broad compilation of knowledge that somebody that wants to work in information security from a management standpoint needs to know. But, we developed a whole lot of things that would connect security practitioners to COVID, which at the time was really seen more as an audit tool. We did some things on security governance and talking to boards of what they need to do, how that interaction between boards and CISOs should be. We did some really nice work on risk management, which is certainly an interesting topic. Try to bring together different risk frameworks. So we didn't take one as being the way to do things, but drew from the best of the risk frameworks for people to understand, how they address risk within an organization, how they use that to guide their program forward.
Yeah, and I think bringing all the CISOs together, you do get all those different perspectives, and I think the Cism material is great material. I still teach that course for ISACA. I teach that virtually, and I think the content's fantastic. I think it's something that I've looked back on. I have the Cism book from 10 years ago, and I have the Cism materials today, and they're still extremely relevant. So the work that those CISOs put into that was pretty fantastic.
Yeah. So the good thing, it evolves so that you start with kind of a baseline, but every year you add to it so that you're able to capture some of the newer thoughts and address some of the problems. But you see a kind of a consistent flow through it about how CISO operates within the framework of a business, which has always been the context we want to work within. We're not taking a technical standpoint. We're talking about leading a business department that happens to manage part of an organization's risk.
And you talked about the collaboration that you have that it builds trust. What sort of things did you see that gave that evidence of building trust across the CISOs?
Yeah. Well, for one thing, you start seeing people reaching out. So some of the places where we did the CISO forum, people still got together after that and had periodic meetings. So they found a group of like-minded peers that they could open up and talk honestly about issues that they're confronting. And maybe not getting an answer to how do you do this, but certainly different opinions of what you can think about, how you can approach things. So, that was one thing. We saw a continuation. We also saw more people wanting to take part because as people heard that this was a valuable thing for them in their career, others wanted to be involved in it. So it was something that grew with the conferences, which certainly attested people were trusting.
I'm always surprised when I've been involved in a lot of different areas of collaboration, and I think it's really important. And the CISO Compass book is an example of that. I brought in 75 other CISOs and top leaders like yourself to help in that book because it we get stronger when we have everybody's ideas together, and not just one person's perspective of that. But what I always find challenging is there's always those couple people that are CISOs, and they're very good CISOs, but they're in their office and they don't come out to the conferences, or they don't come out to the dinners, or they don't come out and network. And I've always wondered, why is that, and how can we bring those people out to show that value to them?
Yeah. So I think that some people are just overwhelmed by what they're being confronted with, and they get down into doing the task of being a security officer and forget about they have to nourish themselves a little bit too. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that I get from working with CISOs across the world. We talk about paying back for what you've gotten, but I think more often people get refreshed and energized by having been there. And some of these people may not have had that experience. They haven't felt the value of sitting down and talking to colleagues. Some might be embarrassed that they think that their problems are unique and that they're not capable of solving it on their own. But that really shouldn't be the case. No one can solve the problems we're confronting by themselves. We all have to work collaboratively, and hopefully somebody has an idea sitting around a group of other people, they build on it, and you come away with something that you can work with. It's the same in any profession. You can't be isolated.
I think that's an excellent point. And, I've been involved in ISACA, for a couple decades now. And I don't know, it may even been you that gave me these initial thoughts that if you're sitting in a presentation and you're not getting at least three things out of it, you probably aren't listening. It may be an affirmation of something that you're doing that makes you think you're going down the right path, or some new idea, or something else. And I think there is that value in that collaboration. The article this podcast is based upon can be viewed in the best-selling cybersecurity leadership book, CISO Compass, Navigating Cybersecurity Leadership Challenges with Insights from Pioneers.
So the CISO meetings, I think, were particularly important because you've probably seen this going to conferences. You go and you read a description, and you read the bio of the person presenting. You say, yeah, there's a good match there. I'm going to get something really great out of it. But in the hour and a half they start with some basic things leading up to, where the meat of the presentation is, and all of a sudden you're at the end. So I think that a lot of conferences kind of look for the lowest common denominator a little bit too low. So you get CISOs together. These are people that have probably been in the profession much longer time, and they're focused a little bit different, and they just don't want to sit and be lectured to. They want to do some lecturing themselves, but they want to have a debate. They want to have a discussion. And that's more valuable, I think, often than sitting in a conference session. Now, they're good, but I think that, how you spend your time and get the most value is certainly on these one-to-one things. And that's why we try to bring leading experts together with the local community.
You also talked about how this helps your personal brand by contributing to these forums, or helping to develop resources for other CISOs. How does that help your personal brand?
Well, for one thing, that you have opportunities to work on projects. People will call you up and say, "Hey, we're putting this together." For instance, your book, and you put that together by knowing people. And I've gotten involved in other publications because people heard me speak, or they knew me from different activities. So you start building a resume of things based on connections you've had. The other thing is that when you're looking for a job, the best reference you can have, somebody says, "Hey, they're looking for somebody over here." or I'll be your sponsor for this job in my organization. Those things are very important. You get to expand your vision. You get to claim a broader group of colleagues you're working with, not just locally, but internationally. You expand your horizon professionally. All of those things are important. You just can't be kind of that unidimensional CISO sitting in your office, looking at access logs and violations and trying to find the best product for a particular solution, or trying to fend off the many people who are calling to sell you things all day. You need to get out and build yourself. And that has to be something that's done consciously. It just doesn't happen without you thinking about it and making an effort to get out of your office, meet people, talk to people, contribute to the profession, gain insight from other people, and then come back and solve problems.
I find that CISOs are not like a monolithic individual, that they're all built the same, that we have some CISOs that are very technically focused and some that are focused on risk management, some that are more focused on strategy, across, people in different verticals. Healthcare has different challenges that the financial industry does, that the manufacturing or retail. And when you bring all these CISOs together, you get that cross-pollination of those ideas or perspectives that you may not have otherwise seen.
That's true. So I guess that's kind of a natural thing in our profession, because how many different job descriptions have you seen? So every company defines what they want in a CISO differently. It depends on the reporting relationship, on the history of the company, their industry, what that industry is doing. And so you get the people that are very technical. You get other people who had been technical and left that many years ago to be more strategic. Some people see themselves as just focused on IT security issues. Other people are much broader and become a CSO that looks at security in all aspects within an organization. So, our profession is very strange in that, it's difficult for someone to just focus on one thing. In a sense, you have to be a generalist and kind of like an orchestra leader, so that in your organization, you have people that are very technical. You have the architects and the system admins, all as part of their job is security. You have people that understand risk. You have people that do awareness and training. All these things have to come together with the CISO kind of looking over the horizon of where we need to go. That's what an effective business manager is. And as people grow in their career, they start in one place and they transition to others based on needs and where opportunities are.
You've seen the CISO evolve over, many years now. Do you think we're getting better? Are we making a lot of progress if we look back 20, 25 years?
So there's certainly been an evolution. When I first got my first computer job, I was working for Northrop at the time, and I was their first data security analyst. So, they defined security as data security. And then, you see over time that people start thinking about computer security, and then we get to information security and information risk management and so on and so on. Yeah, I think that as computers have become more strategic and more central to how organizations work, that the role and responsibilities of the leaders and people in the discipline have changed. So, we had commented a little bit before about the role of the CISO and some technical and such. There may be people that always have a technical role because that's where they have their strengths and that's where they can best contribute. Other people may enter the profession and never really have much of a technical background, but understand the business and understand risk. And there's a place for all of those. And who knows where our profession is going. I think that the challenges we face, the amount of losses that organizations suffer, the amount of computer crime that's affecting the general public and their confidence in information systems and businesses, all these things are driving, where we go as a profession. When I first started, I had it easy because, I was working at a defense contractor. All of our computers were in what we would call a closed area. So there was, cinder block walls, brick walls around every computer, and the only people who could get in that room had authorization and clearance. That doesn't happen anywhere anymore. There were no networks. Now everything is internetworked.
Yeah, where would you put the cement walls anymore?
Yeah, it's kind of hard. So you go back, you look at all the presentations, conferences talking about the castle and the moat and things like that. Those days are long gone.
Yeah. So this has been fantastic. What final thoughts would you like to share for our current CISOs or CISOs that are people that are looking to move into this profession?
Well, first, for those people that are looking at it, I think there is no more rewarding profession than I can think of. It's a challenge every day. There are new things to learn. There are new solutions that are coming to the market all the time. So it's great. There's nothing stagnant about anything we do. Every day you start your day, and it's a whole new challenge that might be confronting you. The other thing is it's a growing profession, so that there are many organizations, unfortunately, who don't have someone that dedicates their full time to information security and protection of the organization. Those companies are taking a lot of risk, and they're learning. They'll be bringing somebody in to do it. So the amount of opportunities are there. The pay is good. You meet some great people in the profession. Some of my best friends are people I met working on various projects. And after many years, we still are friends. So it's a great career. You have to have a lot of stamina. You have to have a thick hide sometimes, but it's a great place to work for a profession.
I couldn't agree with you more. I've always enjoyed seeing you at the ISACA conferences and meeting up once or twice a year. And I know I've learned a lot through those experiences. I wouldn't trade them for anything. And it's been a pleasure talking with you today, Ron. And thanks much for taking the time to help educate the next generation of CISOs.
Great. Thank you, Todd, for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
WIS is on a mission to help every organization rapidly identify and remove critical risks in their cloud environments. Purpose-built for the cloud, WIS delivers full-stack visibility, accurate risk prioritization, and enhanced business agility. WIS connects in minutes using an agentless approach that scans both platform configurations and inside every workload. We perform a deep assessment that goes beyond what standalone CSPM and CWPP tools offer to find the toxic combination of flaws that represent real risk. To learn more about WIS, please visit securityweekly.com/WIS.